Remember which bits to turn on. Check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check. There we go. All I had to do was look at it. All right, welcome. We'll start standing up tonight. So we'll start the way that we finished last week, which is with our roll down. And just remembering that you don't need to come as far as me. You can always stop halfway down, or you can bend your knees quite a lot. So with your feet about hip width apart and a soft bend behind your knees so that your knees aren't locked out. Engage through your ab line. So think about engaging as if someone was going to come along and try and shake you. So just make that area on the inside of your hip bones nice and tight. As we breathe in to engage, and then on our out breath, we're just going to tuck the chin and roll down through the spine, one vertebrae after the other. And just go as far as you're comfortable. If you need to bend your knees, then do that. As we breathe in at the bottom to hold. And then on your out breath, we're going to roll through the spine as we restack our vertebrae, one on top of the other, until at the top, our shoulders come back and down as we breathe in to prepare. And then on the out breath, drop the chin, roll through the spine, pressing down through the feet so that we're strong through the legs. At the bottom, we're going to hold the stretch, just relax your head. And then on your next out breath, we're going to reverse the roll as we restack, pressing down through the soles of the feet until at the top, the shoulders come back and down. We'll just do another two like this as we breathe in to engage. And then on your out breath, keeping the engagement as we roll down through the spine, relaxing through the head, the shoulders, the fingertips are soft. And then at the bottom, just give your head a wee shake to make sure that it's relaxed as we breathe in to hold. And then on your out breath, we're going to restack, trying to keep the hips over the heels so that we're not pressing our bum out behind us too much. And then at the top, the shoulders come back and down. Stay engaged for our last one as we breathe in to prepare. And then on our out breath, we're going to roll back down. Soft bend through the backs of the knees. Just notice how far you've gone at the bottom as you hold the stretch here for your breath in. And then on your next out breath, re-engage as we start to come all the way back up. It's like you're bending over a picket fence. Just warming up through the spine. And then we'll come down to lying on our back. So lying on your back, we did this one last week. We've got a few familiar exercises tonight and a few new ones as well. With your knees pointing towards the ceiling, fingertips come to the hip bones, and then just slide your fingers onto the inside of your hip bones to find that area in your stomach to engage. So it might feel quite soft. See if you can squeeze a little bit to engage that area just on the inside of your hip bones. And if you're having trouble doing that, you could look up towards your knees, and then you'll feel that area underneath your fingertips pop up and engage. And then you can bring your head back down and just see if you can keep that engagement as you breathe. So the breath should be about 4 counts in through the nose so that it's long, and then about 4 counts out, either through the nose or through the mouth. So as we keep the engagement, just breathe smoothly here and see if you can exaggerate the engagement on your out breath. And now we'll start to move. We're going to be lifting one leg up at a time. So as you breathe in, we're going to float one leg up to tabletop, and then breathing out as you very gently lower. And then the other side as we breathe into float. And then breathing out as we very gently lower. As we breathe in, the knee comes above the hip. And then as we lower down, the toes are very soft. Keep the engagement as we float. And then as we lower, engaging under fingertips. Breathing in as we float. Breathing out as you lower. Just got a few more like this. See if you can keep your hip bones perfectly still. And the movement comes directly from the hip joint rather than from the knee. And even though a fly on the wall would think this looks really easy, you should already be working through the abdominals. So now we're going to add an extra movement. As we float the knee above the hip, this time we're going to extend the legs straight. Knees are about the same level. Coming back to a bent knee and then very gently lower. And then we'll do the other side as we breathe to float. On the out breath, we're going to extend the legs straight. Breathing as we bend and then gently lower. Don't worry if you're breathing back to front. We're breathing as we float to tabletop. Breathing as we extend it straight, knees at the same level. Breathing as we bend and then very gently lower. We'll do a few more. So we're trying to breathe in as we float. Breathing out as you extend, knees at the same level. Breathing in as you bend to tabletop. And then breathing out as we lower. Just got a couple more like this in your own time. As you extend the leg, we're pointing towards the corner of the room. The ab line stays on. The hip bone stays still. And as you extend, just see if you can press the ab line down into the mat underneath your fingertips. We're just going to do one more on each side. So stay engaged as we float, pointing long through the toes. Ab line stays on. Even as we lower, stay engaged for our last one. As you point to the corner of the room, back to tabletop, and then very gently lower. So just relax it there. And I'll just quickly show you what I meant. So when I say bring the knees to the same level, it's so that you're pointing the toes to the corner of the room, because if you're pointing up high like this, you won't be working quite so hard. So that's just adding a little bit more of a lever. So that's why I was talking about the knees being the same level. So this time we're going to sit up. We did this one last week, but we're going to add to it. Sitting up with the feet about hip width apart, hands on the front of the knees to begin with. And we're sitting really high through the spine, but without arching, without going too far. It's just a very, very slight bend in the lower back, and we're going to be coming further. So we're just rolling through the hips and then coming back up. So it's a breath out as you tuck the pelvis, and then breathing in as you flatten, breathing out as you tuck. Breathing in to come up. We'll just do a couple more like this and then we'll add to it. So we're just warming up through the lower back, warming up and waking up the abdominals. Trying to relax through the shoulders, through the face. Toes are soft. Just do one more like this. This time, once we get to the top, release your hands out in front and imagine that you're holding a box between your hands. This time we're going to change the breathing. So we're breathing in to prepare. As you breathe out, tuck the pelvis as you lean back just a little bit. We're going to hold the movement here as we breathe in. And then on your out breath, we're going to come all the way back up. Same thing as we breathe in to engage. On your out breath, we're going to tuck the pelvis, holding it here for the in breath. And then breathing out as you come back up, as we breathe in to engage. On your out breath, tuck the pelvis, see if you can go a little bit further. As we hold it here on the in breath, shoulders soft. On your next out breath, we bring the ribs to the hips, and then we'll just do two more like this. As you tuck the pelvis, draw the ab line in, holding it here as you breathe. And then using the breath to come back up. It's our last one like this. As we tuck, drawing the belly button in, holding it here, but keep the breath moving. As we come all the way back up. And then just relax it there for a minute, because you'll probably be feeling it in your hip flexors. We'll come to lying down, and then later on, I said this last week, and I'll show you what it looks like this week, we're going to stitch that movement together with the one that we're about to do. If you need to, you can bring your knees into the chest just for a moment to relax through the lower back. And then we'll bring the feet down. This time we're going to work with the arms, and this is another one of those exercises that could be really, really easy if you don't engage, and no one will know except for you. But do try and engage, because we're here to strengthen through the abs, so you just want to make sure that they're turned on. From the bottom of the rib cage to the top of the hip bone, that area should be nice and firm. And even if you can't feel it with your fingertips, just feel that that area is engaged. Hands start down along our sides, and I always like to engage also through the fingertips, and that's going to keep your hands and arms active as well. Drawing your abdominals in, as we breathe in, the fingertips reach towards the ceiling, breathing out as the arms come overhead. Breathing in, fingertips towards the ceiling, and then breathing out as you lower, keep your abs on. Same thing, inhale, fingertips to the ceiling. Breathing out, squeezing your rib cage down. Breathing in, stay engaged. And then breathing out as we lower. We'll do a few more like this. As we breathe in, fingertips to ceiling. On the out breath, feel the rib cage squeezing into the mat. Keep the engagement as the fingertips float. And then even as we lower. Inhale as we breathe smoothly. Breathing out, squeezing the abs down. Inhale, fingertips to the ceiling. And then breathing out to lower. Keep the engagement. We'll do one more before we add to it. Every time you breathe out, we're squeezing the rib cage down. Keeping the ab line engaged. And then once your arms are down along your sides again in our start position, just re-engage the abdominals, and this time we're going to add a head lift at the end. So it's the same thing to begin with. Breathing in, fingertips towards the ceiling. Breathing out, squeezing the rib cage down, arms overhead. Breathing in, fingertips towards the ceiling. This time look straight through your hands as you lift your head and shoulders up and reach past your knees. As we breathe in to relax the head down, fingertips to ceiling. Breathing out, arms overhead, same thing. Fingertips towards the ceiling. We're going to roll head and shoulders off the mat as we look directly through the hands towards the knees. Rolling down with control, keep the abs on. Arms overhead, rib cage is down. Fingertips towards the ceiling as we roll head and shoulders up. See if you can go a little bit further. With control as we lower, keep the abs on. Fingertips go overhead. Fingers towards the ceiling. We're going to roll it back up, looking straight between the hands to keep your neck in alignment. As you roll it down, we relax the head but keep the abs on. Arms go overhead. It's just our last one like this, so make it your best. Fingertips towards the ceiling. As you roll yourself up, we're drawing the ribs towards the hips. Carefully lowering back down. It's our last one. Keep the abs on as the arms go overhead. And then we can just bring your knees in towards your chest, and I'll show you what that will look like once we stitch that all together. If you want to, you can always give it a go and join in. It's actually not as easy as what it looks. So eventually we'll stitch it together in the next couple of classes, and we end up doing a very similar movement, except we go all the way down, and then we roll it all the way up. And so it's a really controlled movement without collapsing, and it's sort of like a sit-up, I suppose, but it's a very controlled one. And feel free to give it a go if you like, because I can guarantee it's not quite as easy as what you probably think. But everything that we do sort of works towards something, and those movements that we've done sort of work towards this one. And it's just called the roll up, and you'll see it in Pilates all over the place. I always do a slightly more modified version though. Often you'll see that one with straight legs, but because I'm always like looking after your lower back as well as mine, I teach it with the bent knees. Yeah, it's quite hard, eh? Yeah. Yeah, it takes quite a bit to build up. Some people get it quite early on, and other people, you know, never quite get there without that sticky bit, because that sticky bit is when you come up. So what you really want is to try and eventually get it so it's controlled and smooth, but you always sort of get that bit where you're trying to get up at the end. Yeah. All right, so lying on our back, we'll go into leg circles, although these circles are probably more of a D shape. So with the knees pointing towards the ceiling, fingertips on the inside of your hip bones. Draw your abdominals in, and again, at any time if you think you've lost them, you can always lift your head up, look towards your knees, feel the engagement, lower back down, and then just see if you can get that back. Extending one leg towards the ceiling, and if you haven't quite got the flexibility, feel free to put a bend in your knee. I like to keep my fingers on the inside of my hip bones. Imagine a bowl of water on your bent knee so that it doesn't fall off and your knee doesn't wobble. On our in-breath, we're going to draw a half circle out to the side with the foot, and then on your out-breath, we're going to draw it straight up to make a capital D shape. So it's one breath as we lower to the side, and another breath as we draw it straight up. So don't worry too much about which breath is which, although I will cue it, but don't worry if it's back to front. So it's breathing as we lower to the side, and then another breath as we go straight up. We'll just do two more in this direction. Most importantly, making sure that that bent knee is perfectly still and that the hips aren't moving. We're going to go the other way. So this time, a breath in as we draw a line straight down, and then breathing out as you draw it to the side. So it's a breath in as we draw it straight down, and then breathing out as we make that capital D shape. Making sure the bent knee is perfectly still and keeping your ab line on underneath your fingertips. We'll just do two more like this. Feeling the length right through from the hip to the toes, and we only make these Ds as big as we can keep the hip bones still. And then we can lower that foot down so that we can come to the other side. So this time it's the other leg up. Take a moment to engage the ab line. You can bend the knee if you need to. Bowl of water on the bent knee. As we breathe in, we're going to lower it out to the side to make a half circle, and then breathing out as you draw it straight up. Breathing in as we lower out to the side. Breathing out as you draw it straight up. Keeping the bent knee still, so that we're stabilising right through the pelvis, through the lower abdominals. And we only need to do another two in this direction as we lengthen through that straight leg so we can feel all the muscles working around the hips, around the thighs. It's also a really good strengthener for your knees as well. And then we're going to go the other way. So this time we breathe in as we lower the leg straight down, and then breathing out as you draw it in a big half circle. Breathing in, the ab line stays in, and then breathing out as we control and keep that bent knee perfectly still. So just going at your own pace. We've only just got another couple more like this, and if you need a break at any time, feel free to do that. Abs are on, we can feel that underneath our fingertips, and then once you've done your last one, we can bend the knee, bring your knees in towards your chest, and it's always all right to slow it down a little bit if you need to, because I know that the ab line tries to come undone all the time, so you're always welcome to stop, reset, try and get it on again. So just stay on your backs. And we'll go into hip rolls, and we're going to add some feet. I'm going to give you a couple of options for the feet. So starting with the knees towards the ceiling, hands alongside. This is the one, we did this last week, where we tuck the pelvis, and then we're going to be pressing the hips up towards the ceiling until we get to a straight line between the knees, the hips and the shoulders. And then we roll it back down by articulating right through the spine, so we feel each vertebrae, one after the other, coming back down onto the mat until the hip bones are the last to come down. At the bottom, we can relax the glutes but keep the abs on as we breathe in to engage. As you breathe out, we're going to tuck the pelvis, squeeze the glutes, and we're just rolling one vertebrae after the other off the mat. At the top, we're in a straight line between the knees, the hips, and the shoulders. We're going to hold it here but keep the breath moving. And then on your next out breath, we're rolling back down first through the rib cage, through the mid-spine, through the lower back and the pelvis. Keep your ab line on as we breathe in to engage. And then on your out breath, we squeeze the glutes, press up through the pelvis, and just feel your spine articulating until we're in a straight line between knees, hips, and shoulders as we hold it here. Keep breathing. On your next out breath, we're going to roll it back down. So we're just going to do one more like this before we add the feet. Keep engaged through the ab line as we breathe in to prepare, and then on your out breath, squeezing through the glutes, just trying to keep the same distance between the knees as we come up. On your breath in to hold, press even more through the feet, squeeze the glutes, and then on your next out breath, we're going to roll it back down. And I'm just going to give you a couple of options for feet, so you might just want to have a look before the next one. So once we get to this position on the next one, I'm going to cue the feet to come up onto the balls of the foot like you're wearing a high-heeled shoe, and then to roll down. So we're going to do one on each foot. However, if you get cramp with that, what you can do is either skip the feet altogether and just hold it, or you can lift the toes instead. You'll know pretty quickly if you're going to get cramp when you lift your foot. So starting the same way, with the ab line on as we breathe in to prepare. On your out breath, we're going to tuck the pelvis, squeeze through the glutes, and we'll come up to that straight position at the top. As we breathe in, we're going to come onto the ball of one foot, and then breathing out to lower. And then the other side as we roll the heel off the floor. Breathing out as we bring it back down. We're going to hold it here at the top as we breathe in. Both feet are down. And then on your next out breath, we're going to roll it back down through the spine. One vertebrae after the other. We're going to do that again as we breathe in to engage. On the out breath, we tuck the pelvis, squeeze the glutes as we press up. We're going to hold it here. Feel strong in the abs as we breathe in to roll onto the ball of one foot. And then breathing out to lower. And then the other side as we breathe in to roll. And then breathing out to lower. Keep it high as we breathe in here at the top. Hips stay high. And then on your out breath, we're going to roll it all the way back down through the spine. We're just going to do one more like this at the bottom as we breathe in to prepare. On your out breath, tuck the pelvis, squeeze the glutes. Same thing with the feet. On your in-breath, come onto the balls of one foot, breathing out to lower. And then the other side, keep the hip bones high as we lower the foot. We're here for another breath. Squeeze the ab line, squeeze the glutes, and then your next out breath, we're going to roll it all the way back down. One vertebrae after the other. The pelvis now can relax on the mat. Really well done. And just bring your knees in for a moment. We're going to come up to seated, just however you can, so that we can stretch out the backs of the legs a little bit after that. So seated with your feet about hip width apart. And if you're feeling like you are slumped through the lower back, which is completely normal, you can either put a slight bend in the knees, or you can sit on something, a jersey or a cushion, or you can roll up the back of the mat so that your lower back is nice and straight. And so that's because we actually want to roll through the upper spine, and we don't want to start with the lower back, sort of slumped. Fingertips come between the knees, and we sit up really nice and tall. The ab line stays on as we breathe in to prepare. And then on the out breath, we're just going to drop through the crown, and we'll walk the fingertips along the mat just as far as you're comfortable. You can have a bend behind the knees if you need it. We're going to hold the stretch here, but keep the breath moving. And then walk the fingertips a little bit further so that we get a nice big stretch through the backs of the legs. As we hold the stretch, but keep breathing. On your next out breath, we're going to draw the fingertips along the mat as we restack the spine, one vertebrae on top of the other. And then the same thing as we breathe in to engage. On the out breath, drop the chin, and then just feel the spine rolling as you walk the fingertips along the mat as far as you're comfortable. Hold the stretch here as you breathe. You should be feeling it right up through the backs of the legs. And then on your next breath, we're going to walk a little bit further. Holding the stretch here as you breathe. And then your next out breath will draw the fingertips along the mat as you restack the spine, feeling that the abdominals are engaging and initiating the movement as we breathe in to prepare. On your out breath, same thing as we drop the chin, walking the fingertips forward and trying to keep engagement through the backs of your legs as we hold the stretch here on your in breath. As you breathe out, just walk a little bit further. Crown of the head is soft as we breathe into hold. And then your next out breath, we're going to draw the fingertips along and feel that your abs are initiating as you restack, like you're restacking your spine against a wall behind you. And we'll just do our last one like this as we breathe in to engage. And then on the out breath, it's like you're following the gaze down the wall, down the mat, and then just walking your fingertips as far as you can go. See if you can draw the toes back towards you a little bit as you hold the stretch, but keep the breath moving. Go a little bit further and see if you can relax even more through the back of your neck. Holding the stretch. Re-engage the abdominals. On your next out breath, we're going to come all the way back up until we have restacked. Once we get to the top, just have another reassessment of lower back because this time we're going to be rotating, and it is important that you are sitting nice and high. So bring your feet together, and if you feel like you might be slumping away, but just bend your knees up, and that should give you a nice straight spine. The arms come straight out to the side. So for this one, the arms are going to move with our torso, and it's about the torso rotating rather than the arms. So the whole torso rotates like we're a corkscrew from the waist. And we're going to be going in each direction as we look to the hand behind us. So if we just start facing straight forward, feel like your ab line is in, like a corset's on. Shoulders go down. I actually like to teach this with the palms facing up because that way you're less likely to bunch your shoulders. So with the palms facing up to the ceiling, we're breathing in to engage, and then as you breathe out, we're going to go towards me. So towards the front of the room, we're going to rotate and just look towards the hand behind you. Breathing in as we grow tall back to the centre. And then as you rotate, we'll go in the opposite direction as we look to the back hand. Breathing in as we come back to the centre. On your out breath, feel the rotation through the spine. Grow tall as we come back to the centre. Breathing out as we twist. We've got a few more. Grow taller to the centre. And every time you breathe out, just feel like your abdominals are being wrung out like a wet towel. As you grow tall, wringing out the wet towel as you twist. Just going to do one more in each direction. If you're feeling like you need a break, then take it, because I get it's a long time to be holding our arms out. Just see if you can be really nice and tall as you rotate for our last one. Coming back to the centre and then just lowering it back down. So if at the moment you're thinking, oh gosh, I really feel it through my lower back's really tired. So next time it might be a good one to sit on the back of your mat so that you're really nice and straight. So we will come to line on our side. We'll go into some leg work and then a little bit more rotation. Come to line on your side. You can have your arm either extended long or you can bend it for a little cushion underneath your head. So you've got your hand cradling the back of your head. The hand is in front of your chest and then it's out to the edge of the mat, and that's going to give you a bit of stability. With the bottom foot, bring it to the corner of the mat, so the pointy edge of the mat, and you can either stay on the flat part of your foot or you can come up like I do, like a little tripod on my toes. You'll work harder if you're on your toes, but I feel like it's more stable as well. With the hand that's supporting, do keep it engaged a little bit, and think about drawing your shoulder down because the shoulder's going to want to bunch up as it gets hard. We're lifting the top leg with the flex foot, and we're going to keep it at the same level the whole time. As we breathe in, we flex it to the front, and then breathing out as you point to bring it back. So we're not going very far as we flex it to the front, and then point to bring it back. It's a breath in to the front, the ab line's in, breathing out. So we're only going as far as the hip bones don't move. You can take a break at any time, and especially with the leg work, because we're using some quite big muscles and your leg is quite very long and heavy, especially when we're just starting out with Pilates. So we're not doing too many of these. We tend to do in Pilates no more than 10 repetitions. Often we won't even do 10. So just keep the breath moving, keeping the shoulder away from the ears, and we're just going to do our last one before we take a little break because we've got a wee bit more leg work to go. If at any time you need to bend your knees up, then do. We'll go into those small circles that we did last week, about the same size as a basketball. So bring the foot up to about hip height, and we're going to breathe in as we draw one circle and then breathing out for the other. So we're drawing circles the size of a basketball on the wall below us, with a paintbrush on our toes. We're about to go the other way. If you need a break, have it. Otherwise, we'll go the other way as we breathe in for one circle and then breathe out for the other. Trying to keep the hip bones really still, and I get that these are really hard, so we're not here for too long. And then we can have a little break because this time we're going to go into big circles. And only go as far as your hip bones don't wiggle. So if they start wiggling around, then just make the circles smaller. Bringing the foot back up to hip height, re-engaging through the abdominals. As we breathe in, we're going to draw a big circle about the size of a barrel, and then breathing out as we complete it. So it's a breath in. We're only doing 3 in each direction, and then breathing out as we lower without collapsing. It's our very last one as we keep our abs in, and then we lower, but we will go the other way. If you need a break, have it. Otherwise, we breathe in and then breathing out to complete. Keeping the shoulder away from your ears, and see if you can keep the ab line drawn in. And then after that last one, we can release it down and then bring the knees up. So for those big circles, we only need to do 3 in each direction. Sometimes we might do 5, but we don't do very many. For the clam, this is our last leg one, the ab line stays in, and you can always check it because we don't really need the hand for support as much this time. It's like we're seated in a chair, so the knees come out towards the edge of the mat, and then the ankles do too. So you're in a 90-degree position. If it's more comfortable, you can sneak the feet back just a little bit. We're going to breathe in to prepare. On our out breath, we're just going to lift the knee up and then breathing in as we lower, leaving a small gap. So we're breathing out as we lift and then breathing in as we lower, keep the ab line on. Breathing out for the hardest part of the movement. Breathing in as we resist it down. Keeping the toes really soft and drawing in the ab line between the hip bones. We're strengthening through the lower back and the glutes and that whole area, which is your corset between the hip bones and the ribs. And it's a very small movement. Just got a couple more like this. And we'll just do our last one. It's called the clam, this one. And then we'll just lower it down. So we'll flip over in a moment, but before we do, we'll come to a bit of rotation. So lying on your side, if it's comfortable, bring the hands out in front. If this isn't comfortable, especially guys that have got big shoulders, they might find that their head's hovering. So if you're kind of feeling like it's not really comfortable, what you can do is just bend the arm again at the elbow to cradle your head, and you can do it this way. I'm going to cue it with the hands together. With the shoulder, you'll find it'll want to sneak underneath you like you're lying in bed. So just kind of bring the shoulder out from underneath you so that the shoulders are stacked. The hip bones are stacked as well. And the rib cage should be have the intention of drawing off the mat. So we're not collapsed and lying in bed, we're engaged and we've got a straight line through the spine. We've got engagement through the abs. We're looking at the top hand. As we breathe in, we open the fingertips towards the ceiling. And then as we breathe out, we're going to continue to rotate back, looking at the hand. We're holding the stretch here. And then on your out breath, we're going to close the hand all the way back through the centre until the hands come together. So it's a rotation of the spine. As we breathe in, same thing, we're looking at the fingertips towards the ceiling. As you breathe out, we're going to rotate a lot further as we look towards the hand and breathe. And then on your out breath, we're using the abdominals to initiate as we come all the way back through the centre. We'll do a few more like this as we breathe in, fingertips to ceiling, keep the abs on. As we breathe out and rotate, see if you can keep those knees together. We're going to hold the stretch here. You should feel it through the chest, through the arm, through the spine. And then your out breath is going to initiate so that the abdominals are controlling the movement. As we very gently come back, we've just got a couple more. As we use the in-breath to open. The out-breath helps to control so that we don't go too far, the knees stay together. I'm going to hold the stretch here. And then on your out-breath, it's like you're closing the pages of a very heavy and large book. So our last one, just try and draw the shoulder away from the ear as we breathe in, fingertips to ceiling. On the out breath, as we rotate, draw that shoulder away from the ear even further as it tries to sneak up. Holding the stretch here, keep the ab line engaged. And then as you breathe out, the ab line is initiating the movement. You can feel it like a corset as we come all the way back. So that might be a good one to do at home if you're feeling tight through your spine. We'll come to seated and we'll just flip around like you're topping and tailing on your mat so that you can still see the front, and then this time we're going to work the other side. So make sure you can still see the front. And with the arm, it's the same thing. You can either have it straight, you can bend at the elbow. More than welcome to bring a cushion with you from home next time too, because that is also quite nice. The longer the cushion, the better, because otherwise when we start to rotate later, you sort of end up falling off it. The front hand is in front of your chest and then out to the edge of the mat, and that's your support. Bottom leg comes to the corner of the mat, so the pointy edge, on the flat foot, or if you were on your toes before, then come up like a little tripod. The ab line is in the whole time, so you should feel it engaged from the rib cage down. Leg is at hip height and flexed as we breathe in to come forward, and then breathing out as we point to bring it back. So we're breathing in, we're not coming very far forward, it's at hip height, and then breathing out as you point to bring it back, Breathing in as we flex, breathing out as we point. So feel that the abdominals are engaged and that we are isolating the movement so that it's only the leg that's moving. The hips should be still. Feeling the length. Drawing the shoulders away from your ears and relaxing through the face. The breath keeps moving and we're not here for very long. We've just got another couple like this, so we'll make them our best. For our last one, take a little break because this time we're going to go into those small circles. So as you get used to the leg work and we go through the classes, you can always make it harder for yourself by staying elevated instead of taking a break. Come up to hip height. This time the circle's the size of a basketball as we breathe in for one and then we breathe out for the other. So it's one breath for every circle. Just keeping an eye on your hip bones, not literally, but just feeling that they are nice and still. And then we're about to go the other way if you need a break. Have it, otherwise we'll do one circle and for each breath. And you're feeling that engagement from the bottom of the rib cage right out to the toes or the ball of the foot. So our very last one, if you need a break, have it. If you want to make it hard, you can hover. And then we're going to come into those big circles. So just reset the abdominals because what they'll do is they'll start to, as you go, even if you're engaged, your abdominals tend to try and poke out. So I'm always like constantly training my abs in. So we train them in and not out. We're long through the foot as we lift. And this time we're going to breathe in as we draw a big circle to the front and then breathing out as we lower it to the back. So it's a breath in as we start, breathing out as we lower. It's okay if you're back to front with the breathing. And then we're going to go the other way. If you need a break, have it. As we do one breath to start and then breathing to lower. Really controlled through the hip. Only going as far as you can keep it stable. And then we can lower it down. So eventually we'll probably build up and end up doing 5. You might even feel like you want more than that. But it's good just to start with a few so I don't completely put you off. Come to bent knees. So now it's like you're sitting in that chair. Knees are stacked, hips are stacked. And the feet come to the front of the mat. If you want to, you can sneak your feet back a little bit. The ab line is in, and you can always check it because we don't really need the hand as much this time. We're engaging the ab line as we breathe in and just have the intention of drawing the rib cage up off the mat a little bit too. On your out breath, we're just going to lift the knee and then breathing in as we lower, just leave a small gap between the knees. On the out breath, we lift and then breathing in to gently lower. Breathing out, the ab line stays in. As we lower, it's without collapsing. We're just here for a few. And noticing where you're feeling it, which is probably in the glute eventually. But also the ab line too should feel tight. Keep the breath moving though, so the breath is deep. Got a few more like this. Toes are soft, face is soft. We'll just do 2 more. Looking really good. Hip bones are still. And then we can just lower it down. And then you'll know how hard you've worked. We'll come to the rotation. So the hands can come together. Just draw that shoulder out from underneath you. Or if you want to, you can cradle your head, which actually does feel quite nice, that one. But I'll cue it with the hands together. Have the intention that the rib cage is coming up off the mat. So it just means that we're staying really nice and engaged. Looking at the top hand, we're breathing in as we float fingertips to ceiling, and then breathing out as you rotate to the back. Got to hold the stretch here for the breath in. And then as you breathe out, we're going to use the abdominals to initiate as we come all the way back through until the hands meet. Same thing, stay engaged as we breathe in, fingertips to ceiling. On the out breath, we rotate, and it's probably different on each side. Holding the stretch here, should feel a stretch through the arm, through the chest. And then on your out breath, use the abdominals to bring it all the way back through. We'll do 3 more like this as we breathe into open, keeping the shoulder away from the ears. Breathing out as you rotate, looking towards the hand. Holding the stretch here for the in-breath. And then on your out-breath, using the abdominals as we close the pages. Inhale as we open. As we rotate, make sure that the knees stay down and together. Holding the stretch, reaching through fingers. On your out-breath, we come all the way back. Just got 1 more after this. Do our last one like this. As we open, as we rotate, feeling the rotation through the spine. Holding the stretch here. Notice how good it feels. You might want to take this one home with you. And then on your next out breath, we come all the way back through the centre. And it might only be a few of these when you're watching the news or something, and it might make all the difference. So just release at the end. This time we'll come on to our side. We're going to be moving into a bit more work through the spine before we finish off shortly. So for this one, it's a hip lift and it's a little bit of a side bend as well. So the way that you get into position is, first of all, you pretend that you're about to hang out and watch TV. So your elbow is underneath your shoulder, which is in line with your hips and then in line with your feet, so that your feet are not too far back, otherwise you'll arch through the back. Draw the rib cage up so that you're really nice and engaged. If this is not comfortable in your shoulder, maybe let me know at the end of the class if we haven't already spoken about it. So just have that intention of lifting through the rib cage. The hand over the top of the hip, and we stay really nice and engaged. We're going to be lifting the hip up as the arm comes up and over. And then we're just going to be gently lowering back down. So the knees stay on the ground, it's the hip that lifts. So on your in-breath, we're going to lift the hips as the arm comes up and over. And then breathing out as we lower, keep strong through the shoulder. As we lift up and over, very gently lowering it back down. We'll just do 2 more like this. As we keep the ab line engaged to lift, gently lower back down. It's our very last one. If you need a break though, then have it. So it's a wee bit of a side bend. It's a stretch through the side. And then we gently lower. And it's also quite a lot of work in the waist as well. Yeah, it's sort of a movement that we're not really that used to doing, so maybe you'll feel that one tomorrow. Come over onto the other side and we'll set up the same way. So it's like we're hanging out and about to watch TV, except with the shoulder, just push it back so that it's nice and strong rather than kind of sticking out to the front. So we want to be really strong. And that's why I like to keep my karate chop hands on, because it just kind of means that you stay really engaged. The elbow is underneath the shoulder. The shoulders are in line with the hips, which are in line with the feet. Lift up through the rib cage so that we're not sort of hanging out. Engagement through the top hand. The knees are going to stay down. It's only the hip that's moving. So as we breathe in, we're going to lift the hip up as we come up and over. And then breathing out as we gently lower the hips. We're breathing in as we draw a big half circle, a rainbow. And then breathing out as we gently lower. We'll just do 3 more like this. Staying strong through the shoulder. And if you're feeling anything in your shoulder at the moment, just maybe let me know at the end of the class. And then I can help you with that or give you a modification. So our very last one. So feel that stretch right through the rib cage. We gently lower it back down. Just relax it there. Come onto your stomach so that we can work into the back a little bit. Whenever we're lying on our stomachs, just always have that intention of tucking the pelvis into the mat a little bit, squeezing through the glutes. What that does is it stops the lower back from arching. So you just want to sort of tuck it in, squeeze the glutes, and that's going to give you a lot more strength to protect your lower back. I like to have my feet about hip width apart. You can have them closer together or further apart if you want. The hands come along the side. This is not going to look like anything, but it's going to be quite effective. Once you've got the hang of it, you look straight down towards the mat. But to start with, as we breathe in, the fingertips are just going to draw down the legs. It's only a couple of centimetres, and that's going to lift your upper body a little bit. And then breathing in as you lower, but we keep a hover. So it's a breath in, the fingertips draw down. It's only a couple of centimetres. And then breathing in as we lower. So as we breathe in, even try and press your hands into the sides of your thighs a little bit. Breathing in to lower. If you need a break, have it. So we're drawing back up, trying to draw the shoulder blades together at the back of your body. Breathing in to lower. If you've got one more in you, then we'll do one more, squeezing the glutes as we lift. And then lower it back down, and then come back into a child's pose. So that one, if you were squeezing your hands into your thighs, even though we only did a few of those, you might feel that through your arms tomorrow. With your fingertips out in front of you, try and bring your forehead down. The hip bones may or may not come towards the feet. If this is not comfortable, feel free to flip over onto your back and come into a child's pose. But otherwise... into the reclining child's pose on your back. But otherwise, we'll just stay here for a breath or two. Relaxing through the lower back. And breathing deeply. And then we'll come all the way back out to lying on our stomach so that we can do one more. It's quite important to strengthen through the spine because in Pilates we do a lot of ab work, so we also want to make sure that we balance it out. So we did this one last week. We'll start with just the legs, and then if you want to, you can join in with the opposite arms. Tucking the pelvis into the mat, the glutes squeeze, the forehead comes down once you've got the hang of it. On your out breath, we're just going to lift one leg up, and it's only a couple of inches. And then breathing in as you lower. And then the other side as you lift and reach through the feet, breathing in to lower. So we'll just do a few more like this, and we're just trying to lengthen through the legs so that we keep any bend out of the knee. It's very tempting to bend at the knee, but we actually want the movement to come directly from the hip, but we're not coming very far. We're not coming far enough that the hip bone lifts. It's just the leg. So we'll just do one more on each side, feeling the length. The abdominals are drawn in. And then if you want to, we can now add the opposite arms. So you can either stay as you are, or you can extend the arms out in front with the palms facing together. Imagine that you're drawing for a moment the shoulders out of their, or the arms out of their shoulder sockets. So you sort of bring the arms out in front so that it's exaggerated as if the arms are coming out of the sockets, and then draw the arms back into the sockets. And what that's going to do is it's going to elevate your face off the mat a little bit. We're breathing in to engage. This time we're going to lift one leg and the opposite arm just a few inches, and then breathing in as we gently lower. And then the other side as we stay engaged through the ab line, breathing in to gently lower. As you lift and squeeze, you should feel a line from fingertips to toes, breathing in as we lower, but also on the front part of your body as you lift, breathing in to lower. If you need a break, feel free to have it. As we lift and reach, lowering down with control. Just got a few more like this. Feel that line from the foot to the hand. And once you've got the hang of it, make sure that you're looking straight down towards the mat. And it's just our last one here as we breathe. We gently lower it down and we'll bring ourselves all the way back to a child's pose. Or if you need to, you can flip over onto your back and do a reclining version. So we're definitely starting to wind it down now. Just take a couple of breaths here. I always like to make sure that we move our spine in every direction, from bending it forwards and backwards, from side to side and rotating. And it just keeps your spine really nice and mobile, and it also helps to strengthen all the muscles that support it as well. Roll yourself up so that we can come into a crouch. And we're going to bring ourselves up to standing, but just take a moment to sort of equalise so you don't get a head rush. And then once you're ready, flip onto your feet. We're going to push the hip bones up, and then we're going to roll ourselves up to standing so that we can come in for a couple of final roll downs and then a quick balance. So if the feet are hip width apart, we'll just do a couple like this as we engage and breathe in. And then as we breathe out, just tuck the chin, and we're rolling through the spine, bending through the knees if you need to. Crown of the head is very, very soft, fingertips are too. As we hold the stretch at the bottom, dangling through the neck, keep the breath moving, and on your next out breath, we're going to press through the feet so that we can come all the way back up, hips over heels. At the top, shoulders come back and down. We'll do one more as we breathe in to engage. Feel strong through the legs. On your out breath, we're going to drop through the chin. And as we come down, think about hips over heels. Otherwise, your bum tries to poke out the back. Drop through the crown of the head, relax the neck. As we hold it here for the breath in. On your out breath, we're going to roll it up as we think hips over heels. Strong through the core. At the top, shoulders come back and down. We'll do the same balance as last week. It's quite nice to get familiar. There's also other balance ones that we'll bring into it as we go as well. Same starting position with strong legs, slight bend behind the knees, active through the fingertips. On our breath in, we're just going to slowly elevate arms and feet. So we're rolling onto the balls of the feet, reaching through the fingertips. And then on your out breath, we're just trying to coordinate the movement with the breath. And don't worry if you lose your balance. And in fact, if you find it really difficult, you can come off the mat, because the mat can actually put you off balance a little bit. I'll just do a couple more like this. Very slowly, with control. And thinking of drawing that rib cage in, because it will try and poke out the front. And then on your next out breath, we're going to very gently lower it back down. And then we'll just do one more like this. How good does it feel to roll through your feet? It's like a massage through the balls of your feet, which we don't usually get. Try and keep that rib cage in so we're still engaged. And then as we very gently roll it back down. Also, how good does it feel to stretch all the way from fingertips to toes? And then just release it there and give yourselves a wee clap. Thank you for joining. And if you felt it through your shoulder before when we were doing this, feel free to come and talk to me about that. But also if you felt it at all in your lower back, feel free to come and have a chat. But otherwise, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.